Now we move on to our special guest, Julie Spencer Washington. Okay. I'm just going to go into a little bit about Julie. SVP, Chief Marketing, Communications, and Customer Experience Officer. Julie Spencer Washington is SVP, Chief Marketing, Communication, and Customer Experience Officer at Trinity Health, a $21 billion Catholic healthcare delivery system in the United States. Mrs. Washington is responsible for the strategic leadership of brand building, demand creation, and crisis management communication. She's leading efforts to improve the care experience to be more integrated, inclusive, and customer centric. Prior to joining Trinity Health, she served as CMO for Champion Pet Foods, Chief Marketing and Innovation Officer for Jamba Juice, and was marketing leader at Procter & Gamble, Nestle Purina, and Luxottica Retail. That being said, I am going to pass the floor over to Julie. Julie, you can take the reins, but folks, I want to encourage you guys. If you have questions, let's use the chat feature, raise your hand, we will get to you, and we can make this presentation interactive. Julie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Patrick. Good afternoon, everyone. Special thanks to Nisi for working with me and partnering on this time together. And the introduction was made by Kai Mitchell. So my gratitude to Kai for introducing me to the KForce family. So I want to give a little bit of a background, and then I'll tell you what we'll talk through today. And the time is ours together. So the first piece is who is this woman outside of the bio that Patrick read. So the picture on the left, mom, dad, I'm the youngest of two daughters, husband, and then three children. And on the right, we are a scouting family, Girl Scouts, but also I have two Eagle Scouts in the house. So we pursue purpose and we complete what we start. So that's what keeps me going and what makes my heart glad. On the next page, I thought I'd give you sort of a different look of my career, because it's not a linear line. Anyone that can say they started at A and saw their way to Z, bless them, but I did not. It didn't work that way. In truth, I was pre-med, so I was going to become a pediatrician. And so needless to say, I didn't do any of that. So I started with an insurance company and then worked my way through. And I've been fortunate to work as a leader, a manager in most companies who are number one in their industry. And that makes a difference. When people that know how to win, they don't want to lose. And so that worked really well for me because I hate to lose. And so I've been very fortunate to be in some amazing organizations. My primary career path has been in CPG, so consumer products. And so you'll see the Nestle's, the P&G's, the Gillette. And then I had time in retail on Luxottica. So you know Luxottica as LensCrafter and Pearl Vision, Sunglass Hut, those brands. And then also Jamba Juice. And now I have the privilege of working in a healthcare system. So we're the sixth largest healthcare system in the United States, and we're nonprofit and we're also Catholic. So that adds a whole nother dimension to life. But that's me as quick as I could sort of tell the story, give you a little bit of credentials, but also give you a little bit of who I am and why I show up the way I do. So what I want to go through is an outline of how I'd like to use the time. And I'll pause so therefore we don't get too far into the presentation without having the conversation. And so there are four parts to what I'd like to talk about relative to resilience. The core of it is around how do we handle hard better. Second, I need us to remember why we are strong and able to handle hard better. Third, I want to talk a little bit about how you show up in life, and you can do that in a joyous way, even in the midst of storms. And the last piece is I wouldn't be a good marketer if I didn't talk to you a little bit about your personal brand. So on the next page, let's anchor ourselves on the definition of resilience, right? And so I was a state orator, so there's always the Merriam-Webster or Oxford Dictionary. This was a picture that was there about the definition, but here are some things that I found when looking up the word that's important for you to capture in your notes. Oxford says resiliency is the capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties. You have to have a toughness to have then the ability to spring back when you actually have been confronted with adversities. Miriam said that it's the ability of a strained body to recover its size and its shape after having some form of deformation caused by a competitive stress. And the point at the end of the day is, are you sure that you know what your vision is so that you can advance? Because having that North Star helps you then overcome the adversity and move forward toward your goal. So if that's the resilience, and then let's talk a little bit about the story of resiliency. On the next page, I actually had the good fortune of, you know how you get all these different videos that show up in your feed, as only every good marketer does. They intercept you while you're over there searching. Well, my youngest was doing a summer program at Duke because he does want to become a doctor. So maybe there'll be one doctor in the family. But I ran across this video about Kara Lawson, who is the coach of Duke's women's basketball. And I'd like us to take the 2.5, 3 minutes to listen to Kara, because she was talking to her team, but I think she was actually talking to us as a people about resiliency and what that means. So if we can play the embedded video right now.
I was talking with Shay a couple days ago, and one of the things we talked about was how we all wait in life for things to get easier. Think in your own life, if you waited for something to get easier. Oh, I just got to get through this and then it'll be easy. I just got to get through preseason and then it'll be okay. I've just got to get through my junior year of high school and then the classes are going to get easier. Or I've just got to get to my spring of my senior year of college and it's going to be easier. It's what we do. We wait for stuff to get easier. It will never get easier. What happens is you handle hard better. That's what happens. Most people think that it's going to get easier. Life is going to get easier. Basketball is going to get easier. School's going to get easier. It never gets easier. What happens is you become someone that handles hard stuff better. So that's a mental shift that has to occur in each of your brains. It has to. Because if you go around waiting for stuff to get easier in life, it's never going to happen. And then what happens? Oh, it's so hard. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, this, I don't know when is it going to be easy for me? Oh, it's easy for other people. It's not. It's hard. And the second we see you handling stuff, handling hard better, what are we going to do? We're going to make it harder. We're going to make it harder. Because we're preparing for you for when you leave here. Not just basketball and life. And if you think life, when you leave college, is going to be all of a sudden get easy because you graduated and you got a Duke degree, it's not going to get easier. It's going to get harder. So make yourself a person that handles hard well. Not someone that's waiting for the easy. Because if you have a meaningful pursuit in life, it will never be easy. If you're trying to win a championship, if you're trying to have a family, ask your parents. Do you think it was ever easy for them to raise kids? Karen, is it easy? It's not. Any meaningful pursuit in life, if you want to be successful at it, it goes to the people that handle hard well. Those are the people that get the stuff they want. People that wait around for easy, you probably see them at the bus stop. They're waiting for the easy bus to come around. Easy bus never comes around. You've got to handle hard. Okay, so don't get discouraged through this time. If it's hard, don't get discouraged. It's supposed to be. And don't wait for it to be easy. Oh, I just got to get through the summer. And then it'll all of a sudden get easy in the fall. No, it won't. It won't. It won't get easy in the fall. So make yourself someone that handles hard well. And then whatever comes at you, you're going to be great. You're going to be great, okay?
Thank you, Coach Kara. So I'd ask you to take out whatever it is that you capture notes on, because this is the heart of what I want to make sure that we spend time on. Because I think Raheem said, say something. Here is what I want to say and what I hope you receive. So Kara talked about there being a mental shift. That's the only way you're going to handle hard better. Secondly, you have to talk about a true purpose. You have to pursue that which is worthwhile. Because let's be honest, I wrote 3 different things down that have happened to many of us. So you're given the new project, but they didn't give you any resources. So now how are you going to get that done, right? Handling hard better. I always think of President Obama. Came in probably at the worst time. If you talk about a broken system, and yet how is he going to handle hard better as this president? The second one I wrote down was, so then you're given this promotion, but now you have to travel more. You're working more hours, but you have young children at home. And then it reminded me of Ursula Burns, our first Black female CEO at Xerox of a Fortune 100 company, and Ursula had 2 children. And so she talks about in her memoirs about where you are is not who you are is the name of her book. But how did she handle hard better as a CEO over several years, almost 10 years? And then the third one I wrote down was, yes, the organization loves the results that you get, but they also may tell you we need you to tone down some of your intensity. But then it makes me go back to just the other Sunday in the Super Bowl. I don't think Jalen or Patrick were low intensity players. They led with intensity, which is why they were in the big game. So these are the 3 things that I'd have you to think through, is that when you start with purpose is why you show up the way you do and for what reason, right? And so at the end of the day, do you know your purpose? I was given early on in my career, the company's most profitable brand to manage. But guess what? It wasn't growing, and they needed someone to do the turnaround. And I'm thinking, well, that's a great thing. I get promoted, and here I have this. I was a one-woman team trying to figure out how to do this. That's when I learned how you have to create an extended team. You can't do hard alone. So make sure you take that away. You cannot do hard in life alone, not just at work. The second piece of handling hard is around a plan. You have to learn to embrace the situation. So I joined Trinity 2 months before the COVID pandemic. And no, I'm not from healthcare, and they made sure that they reminded me of that. But here's the deal. COVID brought with it fear, it brought death, but it also brought a global community that came together in a spirit of innovation, creativity, and quick adoption. And guess what? The marketing and communication team was core to telling everybody inside and outside, what is this thing called COVID-19? And then I had the responsibility when the president opened the US back up on May 1st. I'm needing to now figure out a plan in 7 days of how we're going to reopen a $20 billion, 25 state system in 7 days. And we're going to need to do it across all of our centers. The third piece is you have to really know who you are. This is not the time for you to show up and say, I am something that I'm not. You have to learn quickly who you are. Take every assessment you can to know what your gifts are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, because you'll know how much you can handle and where you need to start building some muscle memory, right? So for those that love what they see but don't know what it takes to get there, I commuted for 6 years from California to Ohio, and my children were much younger at that time. And, now there's a 3-hour time difference between those 2 states. It is now my first C-suite role. So I've now arrived, quote unquote. And I'm like, wait a minute, Lord, I'm the chief marketing officer. So I got the CMO role, but you already know I'm the CMO at home. I'm the chief mom officer. So how am I going to do this? The only way I was able to be successful in both CMO roles is to actually have preparation and to have a plan. So I'll stop there because I want to make sure that we spend time talking about what you need to understand, because life is not going to be easy, or at least there are people on the easy bus, but I don't even know who they are because I didn't get on. I'm on the we're going to do this because we've been called and gifted to do it. So I'll stop to see, Patrick, are there any questions in the chat before I move to the next section about how we're going to be resilient?
Not just yet, but the one thing I just wanted to drill down, and you talk about choosing the hard road, right? And nothing's going to come easy. How was that instilled in you in terms of your upbringing to just look at challenges and say, I'm going to tackle this head on?
I credit a lot to my mom and dad. I knew I came from good stock. So I didn't lack self-esteem. If anything, it was that I'm looking at you. Why weren't you showing up as strong, as confident as I was, right? That didn't mean I knew all the answers, but I knew what I knew. And I'd say probably, how you have early memories.
Yeah.
Kindergarten, there was a gentleman by the name of, his last name was Singer. And we had to take tests. And that was when they used to call you gifted and you could skip grades. They don't do all that now,
Oh,
right?
yeah. I
Well,
remember.
we took the test. I also was deemed gifted, but he skipped a grade, but I had to stay in kindergarten. How do you handle hard at 5 years old when you know what just went down, but you don't really understand what went down?
Hmm.
But I always say there is someone bigger than me that's always looking out. So I had a kindergarten teacher named Miss Washington, amazing Black woman. Um, and guess what? Miss Washington made sure I had first grade and second grade work, even though I was sitting in her kindergarten class. So I may not have skipped the grade, but I kept moving forward in my understanding and knowledge. So I knew then that I was loved. I knew I was gifted. I knew I was blessed. And I've never looked back. So I'm only looking at the biggest sort of window in my car, and that's in front of me. That stuff behind me is just there behind me.
Love that. Again, just for all of our guests here, this is going to be interactive. So any questions that you have off the cuff, again, please utilize the raise hand feature and we will get to you. And I'll turn the floor back over to you, Julie. Thank you.
Okay, so if we go to the next slide, what I wanted to share was just a little bit about why. Sometimes you forget your own resume. And I put this in the deck, not so much to talk to it, but you have to remember who you are. And I believe we as a people are as strong as we are because we have a testing truth in our history. Just pick a name. And I thought this was important as a page because they didn't ever say the whole name. They only said one name. And yet you knew who you were talking about, right? And so if you don't have Black history elements in your life that you hold on to and believe because of that I can, this is just a page to plant a seed in your heart that because of them we are. And so I encourage you to make sure you remember the strength of your ancestors so you can show up as strong as them. They did not live, fight, and die for us to cower back and to lose the ground that already has been. So remember your family. So this was a quick family tree on our Black History Month, but there's so many more names that were there, but this was a great capture. So on the next page, I thought it was important for us to spend a moment about how do you show up? Because life is going to give you a left turn and a right turn and all that. I am blessed beyond words. So my mother, I'm Julie and she's Suli. So yes, if there was a junior version of females, I guess I was the junior version of my mom. And I had the pleasure of interviewing her and listening to life in a way that you don't normally talk to your relatives about. But I interviewed my mom, and last year I published a book about my mom. And so when you go through it, I just put in this page, the first chapter, it's called Something to Look Forward to. But here's what you need to know about my mother and about resiliency and handling hard well. So my mom is 84 and she's a 4-time cancer survivor. So it's one thing to go through the storm one time. It's another thing to go through it 4 times. But let me tell you, the storm has had different names. So in 1976, she had the first bout of breast cancer. So I was 10. And then in 2001, she had breast cancer the second time. You're supposed to take tamoxifen and everything's going to be well. But here it is. My mom is now fighting the same demon a second time, right? And she was young. She was 38 the first time. A Black woman with what people didn't even say cancer. We didn't know why my mom went to the hospital, right? But then after she has the fight with cancer the second time, in 2016, she's then diagnosed with a rare form of mesothelioma. Then it wasn't even 4 months later, then they also tell her that she has non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So now she has to do chemo. So she's had mastectomy, lumpectomy, and chemo, right? How do you find joy and smile when just that alone is coming down around you, right? But my mom, I'd say the 2 pieces that were core to these recipes is my mom was proactive. Remember having a plan, having a purpose? My mom definitely had early detection. So we didn't have to wait for stage 4. My mom was dealing with everything in stage 1 and all of those things. And so you have to be willing to handle your business. And whatever that means, my mom was handling it. The second piece is my mom is a woman of faith, and she believed there was somebody greater than she was. And so I remember my mom is a true prayer warrior. So she would say, I'm calling on you, Father, because you made me and you know all about me. So that just reminds me that there's somebody that made us, gifted us, anointed us, poured into us. So why are you worrying? Why are you fretting when hard comes? So this is our book. You're welcome to it. It's a quick read. It's only 9 chapters because I'm not that kind of author to write a novel. But at the end of each one, she has a life recipe. That's the first one, and on chapter 1. But I also put a food recipe because my mom continues to work for the same Jewish family that she's been with for now 59 years. Same family. And so a lot of delicious food is in there, so you can actually feed your soul and feed your belly through recipes for joyous living. But hopefully you're encouraged to know what resilience looks like. It looks like my mom if you don't have anybody else to put a picture in front of it. On the next page, I wanted to take a moment about your personal brand because I'd be remiss if I didn't give you some homework. I need you to fully understand who you are. It's hard for other people to support, sponsor, and latch on to you when you don't even know who you are. All right. And so I believe Dr. King has said that the ultimate measure of a man is not at the time of comfort and convenience, but it's at the time of challenge and controversy. So to me, you have to show up at all times in 4 parts. That's who I am at all times. And so I'm now asking you, who are you? Do you know it? It's not what you say, it's what you demonstrate every day. I can tell you I'm smart, but if I haven't demonstrated that I know Jeopardy questions or I can do things that shows my mental acuity, you can't claim to be a genius, right? You must show up in a way that people give you confirmation that you are that. And you need to look inward before you can start doing external communication about that. And then once you do it, now you can consistently say, I am that person. I am a leader. I am an influencer. But you need to take time to know who you are. I encourage you to do vision boards or whatever it is that you want to call it. My kids, we just tear pages out of magazines and you stick them on the board as to what you dream about, but who are you and how different and unique are you? On the second page, or the next page, actually, I just gave you a hint. So these next 2 pages are just things for you to have, because sometimes an example for me helps me understand what someone's talking about. So these are my I am statements. Yes, back to I am my mother's daughter. So guess what? Jesus has some I am statements. So guess what? I have some I am statements. So these are my I am statements. And it's how I show up at work. It's how I show up at home. I earn everything that I have. You cannot out hustle me. I'll say that and put a period at the end, right? I will do what it takes to deliver what I promise. My grandmother told me that honor your word, let your word be your bond. So if I said it, you can count on it, right? I believe in personal development. I am in my last week, thank you God, of my second master's program. But remember, they called me the woman that didn't have healthcare experience. Now, to be in the C-suite as the only woman of color, I can't let that be the reason why they're going to discount something that I'm saying. So guess what? I'm getting a master's in healthcare leadership. Lord knows at 57, I do not have time to try to learn APA formatting. But you have to be willing to invest in you to ensure you show up the way you know you can and the way people need you to, right? And so that's my I am page, but I would say I think I've learned how to handle hard real well. Last page into the Julie story is my beliefs. You have to know where your lines are. You remember in school when we used to have the notebook paper, and whether you were learning to write or if it was now the college rule, there was all those red lines along the side. They were there to keep you from running and writing over the line, right? They kept you within the lines. To me, your beliefs help anchor you. You know when you're walking across the line. And so these are just my beliefs. You can believe many other things, but you need to know inside of you what is true. I believe good is in every person. And I do believe that it's not my job to make the whole fire, but I do believe I can spark the fire. I'm an igniter of hope, an igniter of ideas. I may not be the one that carries it all out, but I do know how to start good fires, right? And I believe that I am here on divine assignment. So I get tired, but yes, I need to keep pressing on. Somebody's counting on me to show up at the destination that is assigned to my name, right? And so I'm a believer of sowing and reaping. You can't put down good and expect something other than good to come back. So I'm going to believe that if I keep doing good, good finds its way back to me. Whatever I put in the universe comes back to me, right? And so then the last page that I have for you is just a picture and a request. You can't handle hard better and get to the top of that mountain, whatever that mountain is, and not look back and bring somebody with you. Our history says you must bring people with you. So please, please do not ever assume I don't know you and you don't know me, but I'm reaching back. I would hope that I have in this time to today shown you that I'm speaking up and that I'm reaching back to ensure that you have the courage, the inspiration to know that you have been equipped, you have been created to handle hard better. So I'll stop there. Those are the prepared remarks, but I'll take whatever questions may be in the chat to make sure that I answer what's on your heart and your minds.
Julie, this has been so impactful. There have been a few questions just rolling in. I'm going to flip the floor. I believe, Marcy, you had the same question as Lyra about how do we instill handling harder better on a level that they can understand?
If you have children, I think everything is about encouragement. What I would tell my 2-year-old isn't what I tell my 20-year-old, right? And so you have to be willing to let children fall, but you have to encourage them to get up. So you remember when children were learning how to walk?
Yep.
You can't walk for them. You got to let them pull up and you get a good diaper because they're going to fall down and it's going to be a lot of plopping on the floor, right? So give them the cushion that when they fall, you don't let them hurt themselves, but you have to let them learn how to stand up on their own. So my handling hard better is sometimes making, opening a door for someone, offering them the opportunity to walk in and making sure they're prepared when they get in. Right? So I'm not telling you that it's not going to be hard. The question is going to come. I just want to know, have you prepared for the question so you know how to answer them? So that would be, I'll call it the easiest way for you to think about it as a leader, or even just as a colleague. How am I going to show up and find my way forward to be on the PhD program of handling hard better? I'm first going to learn how to do adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Can you do the basics? And do you show up in a way that people can approach you and receive what you're saying? Or do you always look like you're on the attack? And you always have one agenda? People can't hear you when you're screaming. Well, I'll speak for myself. I can't hear anyone when they're screaming at me. If we can bring it down a notch, then maybe we can have a conversation, right? So remember, tone matters, not just content of what you're saying.
I love that. Love that. Another question that came in from Robin. Miss Julie, how did you set yourself apart from others who wanted your job?
Oh, well, how about we just start with the ones when I came? What made this one interesting is there were 3 people inside the company that interviewed for the job. And all 3 of them were still there and they reported to me. All right, so I'm not confused that they were not on my side. Let's just say I didn't turn my back when I knew who was in the room, right? Judas was sitting at the table, so never be confused that in the 12, there's always one, right? But I know me and I don't try to do everything, but I just do Julie, because what I know is you can't do me, right? So one word that is always attached to me is results, sort of one phrase, results focus. Remember I told you can't out hustle me? You can't out deliver what Julie can deliver. Because one, you're not willing to put in the time. When I was in California, I commuted 2 times a month. So 2 weeks out of the month I was there and I'm the homework parent and I have young children at home. You can't do what I do. Right? And so what I made sure was that I gave certain words and certain deliveries that were there. You can't be more strategic than me. I do my homework. The other word for me is prepared. I have usually a scenario A, B, and C. When I go to a board meeting, you won't catch me. At least I have something to work with. And so I make sure that I know what I stand on and what I stand for. And let all those other things, I can't do that. Or at least I can't do it as well as I can do the 3 things I can do. And by the way, I don't usually try to do more than 3 because I don't juggle well. So just stay true to your core it'll guide you every time, no matter which industry, no matter what project, and whether you're at home or whether you're at work, it'll always pay off for you. Stay true to you, because only you can be you.
Love that. And this brings us to a good question, a good transition.
Yeah.
What is your perfect evening after a busy week?
All right.
How do
So,
you unwind usually?
well, not right now because I'm still working on this master's degree, but give me a minute. So there's no really unwinding, but when I do, so the kids know, um, there are certain shows that I like, and because I don't get to watch them when they're on, I'm usually catching the marathons. So I grew up on the Waltons and Little House on the Prairie and the Wonderful World of Disney. So I usually spend a lot of time on the Hallmark Channel because ain't nobody getting killed on the Hallmark Channel. And at the end, everybody gonna be happy. There's
Right.
just love and love and more love. So honestly, I will spend more time, even though I already know what's gonna happen, as my son says, but I'm just happy not to see people dying. Right? I'm just
Right.
trying to be on the uplift. So really, I'm a Hallmark Channel gold crown holder, but also a watcher. And so that's where you'll find more of my time. And I'll watch a couple other things, but the last piece is I enjoy sister time. So I'm usually I live in Michigan and most of my friends are not here given all the times I've moved. So I'm usually gonna find coffee time with a sister friend, just in a conversation, just to
Right.
catch up, talking about everything and talking about nothing at the same time. And so those would probably be my best two of the unwind, is just say, hey, what you doing Friday night? Tell the kids, y'all upstairs, your mom in the basement, don't bother me because I'm talking to your auntie, right? And so those would be my two.
I love it. Julie, do you have any tips or tricks towards networking and expanding your network? You mentioned at the top of the call you were introduced to KForce via Kai, who is amazing and she's fantastic at networking. But I'm wondering
Yeah.
from your perspective, if there's anything that you would add or want to share with our group.
Yeah, so Patrick, I actually don't subscribe to networking as most people define it.
Hmm.
And now I'll date myself again. Back in the day, networking was about, getting everybody your business card and, you trying to build a Rolodex, right?
Hmm.
What I strongly encourage you to do, you don't need as many people in your circle. You just need the right people in your circle. And what I mean by that is you need to build relationships. And I need to know I can call on you, and you need to know you can call on me. Like, I don't have everybody in my LinkedIn. I did Miss Congeniality when I did pageants. I don't need to be famous or popular or whatever it is. Everybody's not in my LinkedIn, so my numbers aren't big. Because here's the deal, when I send something to you in the message, I'm expecting you to write me back. But if you don't even remember who I am, how are you going to write me back to help me out?
I love
Right?
that.
Because that's how I'm
Yeah.
going to show up.
Hmm.
And so probably every Christmas, I send about 200 or so notes. Because remember about personal brand, I also have sort of a board of directors. I need to let people know where I am, what I'm doing, because I need to let them know before I need them what's going on. That's not the time for me to tell them the last 2 years is what I've done. No, well, now I'm looking for a job. I need you to know, oh, well,
Hmm.
Julie's ready. And this is how it happens. So I'm big on relationships, invest in people, show up in their lives, send them an article, give them some shout outs, whatever it is, be the Black History, put them in your Black History LinkedIn page. We don't need someone else to curate our content. Love on people. And it's amazing because people usually promote and sponsor only those they know. Your paperwork could be strong, but if I don't know you, I don't back you, right? So that's relationship. That's not networking. So spend time investing in relationships, and I promise you, it'll pay dividends beyond your wildest imaginations.
A word. I love this. And I got to say, we're coming up on time.
Yeah.
I just want to turn to our group. Are there any additional questions? Okay. Julie, again, want to thank you for all of your time. I don't know if you have a closing word, if there's something in addition that you want to leave us with, but this has been amazing. You dropped a lot of nuggets, jewels for
Yeah, you
us.
know what? I've tried to share it all. The deck is available to you, so there's no proprietary whatever. These are just Julie's thoughts. What I just want to make sure is that you own your truth. Um, and there's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone.
Mm,
But if you want to go far, go together. So this group can go far inside of KForce if you go together. If you go alone, I promise you, you will not have the personal or collective impact that you desired and that Patrick started out with in your mission statement. So go do the work, handle hard better. And there's just an amazing sort of reward on the other side. So I'm excited for you.
Thank you again for your time. We appreciate you.
Sure.
Nisi, is there anything else that you want to share with the team?
No, we just want to say thank you all for attending. And once again, a special thank you for Ms. Kai Mitchell for connecting us with Julie Washington.
Thank you.
We thoroughly enjoyed everything that she presented to us today. And I hope that we're able to internalize it and carry with it and reach back and, connect with someone and help someone else along the way.